Hi there, YouTube. This is the Magnus, bringing you some Total War Warhammer. This is from the Questing Cup tournament run by Ninja Hund, where I faced my son HW in a best of 3 in the first round. Now, the first game I had lost quite handily, actually, but somehow that replay did not get saved. But you weren't missing much, I promise. And just the first thing I noticed here when I was getting ready to do this video is my opponent had actually broken the tournament rules, and I should have been paying attention for that. And that is, you're not allowed to have more than 6 of any unit, and he brought 8 miners here. So he has 8 miners. He has Norgrimling's Ironbreakers, the Grumbling Guard, 2 Thunderers, the Dragonback Slayers, a Runesmith, Thorgrim Grudgebearer, and a Master Engineer. I had brought the Chaos Warriors against his Dwarfs, and I brought an alternating line of our aspiring champions along with Chaos Warriors with great weapons. So I have 6 Chaos Warriors with great weapons and 3 of the aspiring champions. I also brought 1 Hellcannon out of fear that the Dwarfs may do something like they did, which is corner camp on the mountain there. I also brought one of our favorites, or at least my favorites, and that is the Gorebeast Chariot. And then I have a flying crew that includes a Sorcerer of Fire on his Manticore and a Chaos Lord on his Dragon. So let's go ahead and get this started. Now, I did not deploy all the way forward. I deployed back a bit, and I did that so that my Hellcannon could begin firing at the maximum range, so that it would take him as long as possible to cross the field if I was able to draw him out with the Hellcannon. And as he has no artillery, he's going to be forced to do that. So actually deploying all the way up here and attempting the corner camp is going to work against him because of this. And that's a very good tactic to use, is to use artillery, or an artillery advantage, to force anybody who boxes or corner camps, stuff like that, to come out and get you. So you're going to see the Hellcannon gets a nice shot there on his Dragonback Slayers. They're going to take pretty good damage. And with how slow the Dwarfs move, we're going to have a lot of time to just kind of make it rain on the Dwarfs here. So here comes another shot. Yeah, just going to make some burnt snow, apparently, which doesn't make much sense, but hey, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll just say it melted, and that's what the ground looks like underneath, right? So he's on the approach. My Hellcannon's having a field day there. Great hit on the Thunderers. And we're going to go ahead and speed up until we get closer to engagement time. Now, the Dwarfs, I definitely feel, have an advantage in this matchup, generally speaking, just because of the buffs of that Thorgrim and the Runesmith provide, really make even the worst of their units viable. And for example, these miners have armor piercing, and with those buffs they go from chumps to being able to hack into the armor of my Chaos Warriors pretty reliably. So as he gets closer, I'm going to shift my line to the left, because he's obviously going for my left flank. And not that I'm worried about him coming around, but what I don't want him to be able to do is mass everything on a very small part of my line. So I want to expand that line as much as possible. I bring the flying crew over with the goal of being able to hit him from a flank, and then I also have the Gorebeast Chariot ready to do the same. But again, I'm not going to rush anything, because as long as I can make him eat Hellcannon, the better off I am. So he's waiting for his lines to get formed. That's more shots I can fire off. In the meantime, I do a little preemptive strike with the air crew here, just to get some damage down on these Thunderers and stop them from being able to shoot. But now I decide it's time to come in. Some of his charges come down, but not yeah, he doesn't have a lot of them, so that's fine. We're going to get in here across the line, and then I'm going to bring in the last of the aspiring champions. We missed it here, but I did bring in the Gorebeast Chariot. Let's kind of follow him for a little while we have a look around at the field. So on the front line, those Chaos Warriors with great weapons are quite effective against armor, and they're going to do a number on Dwarfs. I mean, they do really well. These Gorebeast Chariots, if you micro them well, look at them pushing them instead of knocking them over. That was kind of funny, a little derp out there. Now they're going to get into his gunners and into his slayers, just a bit into the slayers, and then through the back of these thunderers. Just, you know, pulling your chariots through stuff like that is where you're really going to get the damage. And notice how disrupted his lines are. His men aren't in formation anymore. They're completely disrupted. And again, look at that bug where it's just pushing them and slowing them down. It's kind of weird. And you see I bring the Chaos Dragon in. It's gonna start to do some splash damage over here, just trying to break the dwarf line here on the flanks. The dragon has great damage potential. It has, you know, fear and terror, obviously, which are hard to use against the dwarves, especially early on, and while they still have heroes and lord. It's just really tough to break them, but you are going to be able to do a lot of damage, and they're not going to be able to do a whole heck of a lot back. Like, you can get away with leaving flying units in there for a while, unless they get their slayers in there. Now, he got his slayers in there, but they're barely, you know, much left of them at all. We made sure to beat them up early and often. You can see the chariot over there is still moving around. It broke a unit of the thunderers. A couple of his miners have run away. They're over on the far side of the gully there, and now my chariot's going to go into the rear of his lines over there, just punching right through. And I'm going to bring the Chaos Dragon over to the other side, so that I'm constantly overweighing one side and then the other. And I want to be able to get his Runesmith down, because his buffs are very important. Now, I've talked about it before, but since he's on foot, constantly charging is not that effective, because every time the dragon charges him, it's going to knock him over. And then while he's laying on the ground, he's immune to damage. Like, your guy won't hit him and nothing happens. Whereas just leaving the Chaos Dragon on him here, he's just chomping him up, and you can see his health's going down pretty darn quickly. Now, the other thing you have to be careful with is you want to constantly retarget with units like this. Giants are like that. Anything big, they're going to have a tendency to just start going after whatever's around them. And that's definitely not something you want. So the Runesmith's all but dead at this point. He's laying on the ground, facing the snow. Poor little stunty, and I've got people working on him. And you can see in the background my Hellcannon's still going strong. I've been using it to, you know, hit any units that I felt I could without hitting my lord and my leadership, or any of my infantry for that matter. And you can see right now the balance bar has started to go in my favor. The chariot is still doing good work, plowing into dwarves every chance it gets. There's not a whole lot of his infantry left. It's mainly his leadership. So the chariots, this is the only area really where it's going to have much effect, because there's just not many units around. Gets into these thunderers again. So far, 92 kills on the Gorebeast Chariot. So it's been the beast that we hoped it would be. The Hellcannon, 110 kills. So crossing the field, which I forced him to do, is having a great effect. Over here, I'm shooting my cannons into this engagement because he had 2 units and I only had 1. Now he has 0 and I have 1, so I'd say that was a good trade. Here is Iron Breakers. Very tough, very defensive unit, but they've got, you know, 2 units of Chaos Warriors on them, and I think it's 2 Aspiring Champions, and then also the Chaos Lord. So that's going to put a pretty good number on them. And now over here, I've got a pairing of Chaos Warriors and Aspiring Champions that have been working on Thorgrim, and he's looking pretty beat up. My Chariot's still roaming around having fun. We're going to bring in the Chaos Dragon to try to finish off Thorgrim, because at this point, he's pretty much all they have left. There's like 5 Slayers. They look eager. You gotta give them credit. They're definitely brave, but smart probably not. And down goes Thorgrim, so any units that he had that were trying to reform are definitely second guessing that. And now that really just leaves his engineer, who's going to get run over several times, and that's going to be the end of match 1, game 2. So we get a Pyrrhic victory over my son HW. Good game to my opponent, but like I said, he has 8 miners, which is contrary to the rules. So one tip I would have from learning from my own stupid experiences: check your opponent's army before you really get going, and make sure they're tournament legal, because this is not a tournament legal build. And it's quite possible that wasn't his intent. You know, he had a saved army or something, or he's used to doing this. But you can't do that in a tournament. Looking at the tail of the tape, the Hellcannon 124 and the Gorebeast Chariot had 113 kills, so definitely the stars of the show. But we had several of the Chaos Warriors put up the 100 plus numbers as well. Aspiring Champions were fine. Chaos Lord did really well. Chaos Sorcerer was pretty much our only casualty, along with this Aspiring Champion. Looking at my opponent's army, his Ironbreakers did quite well, 75 kills. The Grumbling Guard had 75 kills as well. And Thorgrim did pretty well, but the rest of his army was absolutely annihilated. These miners did very little. The Thunderers were taken care of by the Chariot quite well. And that is the end of the second battle. So at this point we're tied at 1-1, and we're going to be going into game 3. So look forward to that in my next video. Until the next time, this is the Magnus, and I'll see you on the ladder.